started in the past was this journey to Jerusalem, ziyarah of Masjid al-Aqsa, and some of the brothers thought that it is good to go, and some others thought that it was not good to go. But, we know that today this is regarded, Israel regards Jerusalem as its capital, and regards itself to be the sovereign in those lands. And by asking permission from them to go there, to Jerusalem, or to any place in the occupied lands, we are actually, in a sense, first of all, accepting their sovereignty by asking them visa and going through all the regulations, rules that they have put there for going through the occupied lands. And secondly, we have somehow supported the very state, the illegal state of Israel, by normalizing Muslim relation, by encouraging tourism going to Jerusalem. You just can imagine if, for example, Muslims who Shias, of course, I'm not talking about Sunnis, because Sunnis have, like Ikhwan al-Muslimin, like Al-Azhar, they have categorically made it haram for Sunnis to go and visit Jerusalem, because they said this is explicitly and without any doubt a support for the state of Israel. So we don't want to do that. And for some ziyarah which is very mustahab. And sometimes some people actually go there out of curiosity. They of course have this mustahab thing in mind, but they would like to go out of curiosity to see the city, to see the temple, to see Jerusalem. And for such a thing, actually doing something which is mustahab or which is mubah, by which we support the most nefarious enemy of Muslims, a state which has occupied Muslim lands, driven Muslim people out of their homes, is known to be a child killer. The non-Muslims, the atheists in the West, the conscientious people in the West, and in all over the world, they somehow protest, oppose the acts of the crimes of this regime. And then we Muslims, but just for the sake of saying that because this is a mustahab act, we want to go and visit Jerusalem, we support this state. This is, of course, something which no rational argument would support. Rationally, we never should do that. We know that certain things in the past, let me tell you one very simple example. Smoking was something, of course, mubah since the beginning of cigarettes and tobacco coming to Muslim lands. It was something mubah. People used to smoke. Now, when British government came to take the monopoly of the business for tobacco in Iran, Ayatollah Shirazi, rahmatullah alayh, the great Mirza Shirazi, he issued a fatwa and said, because of this, because now smoking is support for British government, I make it haram from today. Al-yawm isti'malu tambaku wa tutun haram from today. This is what he said. From today, using tobacco is haram and is like fighting against Imam al-Asr alayhi salam. Now, you can see something which was quite mubah. However, because some secondary issue, something which was giving it a different perspective happened, Ayatollah Shirazi say today is haram, and smoking is like fighting against Imam Zaman alayhi salam. And of course, everyone was obedient to Ayatollah Mirza Shirazi. He was the grand Ayatollah at that time. Even in the court of Nasiruddin Shah, the king who had granted the monopoly over the business of tobacco in Iran, who had granted it to British, in his court, his wives brought all the shishas and all those things which we were smoking. They broke it in front of him, and they said that the person who made us halal to you have made this haram for us now today. So we shouldn't look at things very ritualistically all the time. We have to calculate, we have to look at different aspects of it. We had this, and I'm really, really thankful to my dear brother Sarfaraz and Abbas Datu and other brothers who came, we discussed it, and they were convinced that this is something that Haydari should not support, and therefore Haydari withdrew its support for the organizing the trip to Jerusalem. Those who individually went, I don't know. I personally don't think that they gained any thawab. I hope they have not accrued any sin, inshallah. Inshallah, Allah would forgive them for going to Jerusalem at this time, which is a support. It's very clear. Anyone now going through the occupied territory, accepting the sovereignty of Israel over those lands, is actually acting against Muslims. And it's just like stabbing Muslims in the back. And as I said, our Sunni brothers have very clearly and categorically forbidden it, although in their traditions, in their narrations, there are much more hadiths about merits of going to visit Jerusalem and other places. In our tradition, of course, there is less, but our manaja as well have spoken against it. And why should we do something which is very dubious? I mean, it's absolutely shubha that whether going to Jerusalem is good or bad. At least it's shubha. If we are not 100% sure that it's bad, it is something which is not acceptable for Shias to do, except there is this, at least there is this shubha that it may be good, it may be bad. So why should we do something? We spend our money, we spend our time, and we do something which is quite dubious. I hope, inshallah, we receive the thawab of visiting Jerusalem by not going there. Because by going there, I'm sure the thawab will not be given to us, but I hope by refraining from that, by not somehow betraying other Muslims, betraying people, children who were killed. I mean, you just imagine the state of Israel when they put siege on Gaza, and they make it like a big prison, and then they just throw tons, hundreds of tons, thousands of tons of bombs on people. Just the official statistics about the killing of children in the last July was 506, and this is the official statistics issued by international organizations. Allah knows how what was the real number of children killed in those sieges. So what I really think that although this Jerusalem is a holy place, although the Temple of Solomon, all those relics from Judaism, from Christianity, from Islam are very good to visit, and it is good to pray there, and this is where our Prophet went to Mi'raj. But when this secondary aspect is attached to it, we know that we shouldn't do it. It's not something wajib, it's just a mustahab, and really, as I said, in Shi'i narrations, we really don't know whether it's very much recommended at all or not. So I hope that we do not in future ever think about going in such places. Anyhow, time is going very fast. We had a very short time tonight. We were talking about Suleiman. Suleiman mobilized his army, his troops. It's not mentioned where he wanted to go. However, on the way, وَتَفَقَّتَ الطَّيْرَ, he went to parrot there, to see actually into the affairs of his troops from birds.